The United Nations Population Deviation have calculated the future population of the world countries. Based on the current demographic trends, the world population is projected to reach 8.5 billion in 2030 and to increase further to 9.7 billion in 2050. The question is, how do we feed 9 billion people by 2050? Food security is when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient safe and nutritious food that meet their dietary needs and food preference for an active and healthy life. There are 4 dimensions of food security, which is physical availability, economic physical access to the food utilization, and stability of 3 dimensions above. To achieve food security goals, all 4 aspects must be met at the same time. Food security is growing concern across the globe due to a variety of factors such as population growth and economic instability. According to United Nations Food Agriculture Organization (FAO), despite the fact that the globe produces enough food to sustain its food population over 8 billion people, however, there is 1 in every 8 of our fellow beings does not get enough food. Malaysia is now ranked as 41st on the Globe Food Security Index. In fact, Malaysia does not produce enough food to feed its people and industry, with the agricultural productivity being only 45% of the average high-income countries. As humans developing and innovating, there are many global issues happening where the climate is changing, deserts are expanding, and the sea level are rising. Pests and diseases are spreading. Rainforests are dying, destroying biodiversity. Industrial exploitation poisoned our sea and river, where the fish stock are on verge of collapse. So here food security is functioning in the economic health and environmental benefit of the local food system, whether the nutrition and healthy food can be distributed fairly to adapt to all possibility in the future. Food security is a key aspect of global development, and its importance lies in its potential to impact everything, from human health to international relationships. Food security is not only about the basic necessity for a healthy and productive life, but it also plays an important role in maintaining political stability and peace among people. There are several factors that affect food safety conflicts. Among them is climate change. Climate change can include various aspects such as landslide, continuous rains causing floods, prolonged drought, and recently we have been affected by the COVID-19 epidemic, which also restrict the entry of imported and exported food. According to Berita Harian, 26 August 2022, more than 340 million people around the world are affected by the conflict. Yemen, Africa, Latin America are among the countries that are severely affected by climate change. According to the U.S. Missions Italy articles on 16 October 2022, as we know, inland African countries, they experience prolonged drought so that there is no fertilizer or crops, which cause the people in the country to lack food resources and result in starvations. This climate change presents different challenges to each country because each result is different according to the local climate. Like Bangladesh and Vietnam, challenges to their food security arise as when the sea levels rise. The abrupt rise in pricing is another issue that contributes to disputes over food safety. Each price increase has an international impact and result in an overall price rise of 40.3%, at least until this leads some nations to try to find alternative efforts by importing or exporting food from other nations. When the COVID-19 epidemic and the conflict between the Ukraine and Russia hit the world, this increase was more obvious. According to Utusan Malaysia, 12 May 2022, grain price climbed 17.9% from 2021. Vegetable oil price increased 13.9%, dairy price increased 19.6%, meat price increased 10.5%,
4% and sugar price increased 4.7%. However, the difficulty of the people and the government in ensuring their food safety is currently insufficient. The country of Iraq took advantage of the massive increase in oil price as a result of the war between Ukraine and Russia. Due to the fact that Iraq is a country with abundant petroleum resources, other nations are left with little choice but still need to purchase from Iraq. As I indicated before, the struggle over food security most recently arose during the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Iraq continues to be a petroleum-rich nation, but despite being able to process its own wheat, the country lacked a sufficient supply of wheat. Ukraine has temporarily halted exporting wheat due to the conflict, which has an impact on Iraq and India. France, Canada, and etc. are among the nations that produce wheat beside Ukraine's. Prices in these nations have significantly increased. In order to ensure its food security in the face of a standstill, the Iraq state chose to purchase wheat at a price that was twice as high. Not to mention that this conflict has an impact on West Asia and North Africa, two regions that depend on grain supply from Ukraine.
What is food insecurity? Low food security, or also known as food insecurity, is the limited or uncertain availability of nutritionally adequate and safe foods. How food insecurity can happen? Climate change and natural disaster are affecting food production. Natural disaster and climate variability are major sources of vulnerability to food insecurity. They particularly affect those in countries that largely depend on rain-fed farming and those highly dependent on agriculture. Examples of such natural disasters include drought and landslide. Poor people are also less able to cope with the impacts of climate shocks and variability. This event can result in massive crop loss, loss of store food, and damage to infrastructure, and consequent increase in food price. Degradation and declining productivity of agricultural soils are serious threat to agriculture in many areas. The next cause is low level of food production. Insufficient production is the major challenge to food security. In Africa, its underdeveloped agriculture sector, low fertility soils, minimal use of external farm inputs, environmental degradation, significant food crop loss, both pre- and post-harvest, and inadequate food storage and preservation that result in low levels of food security that affect the food security. International conflict or war also contributes to low levels of food production. From what we can see recently, the war between Russia and Ukraine has greatly impacted the food security between countries that is depending on the food supplies from the countries. Besides, there are many more causes that contribute to food insecurity, including unstable social and political environments that preclude sustainable economic growth, war and civil strife, macroeconomic imbalance in trade, natural resources constraints, gender inequality, inadequate education, poor health, locust infestation, and the absence of good governance. All these factors contribute to either insufficient national food availability or insufficient access to food by households and individuals. Now, ever wonder what will happen when a country lacks food security? Hunger, poverty, and disease are interlinked and are a direct result of lack of sustainable food supply or availability. Hunger reduces the natural defense against most disease and is the main risk factor for illness worldwide. People living in poverty often cannot produce or buy enough food to eat and so are more susceptible to disease. Sick people are less able to work or produce food. Hunger is a major constraint to a country's immediate and long-term economic, social, and political development. Food insecurity is endangering the stability of developing countries due to rising food price and fuel price. The surge in prices has reduced the purchasing power of poor people and inhibited the ability of poor countries to import food for their hard-pressed population. And food insecurity is also likely to lead to increased international migration. People from low food security countries will tend to migrate to countries with high levels of food security and more developed countries to ensure that sufficient food and supplies.
Let's talk about the current situation about food security in Malaysia, bilateral and global. On 2025 January 2023, to tackle the food security issue in Malaysia, Agriculture and Food Security Minister Muhammad Sabu said that the government is focusing on 4 pillars outlined by the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO in line with the National Food Security Policy Action Plan 2021 until 2025 and National Agro-Food Policy 2021 until 2030 DAN 2.0. For bilateral situation on 17 June 2022, the United Arab Emirates UAE intends to deepen its connection with Malaysia throughout its food corridor plan, capitalizing on the country's existing bilateral link in wake of global food security disruptions. On 15 February 2023, Malaysia and Indonesia will strengthen bilateral cooperation in food security throughout agro-food, trade and agriculture technical collaboration to ensure sustainable and continuous food sources. Indonesia is also ready to export grain, corn and livestock products like meat, milks and eggs to meet Malaysia's needs. However, following the latest report of the World Food Programme, the scale of current global hunger and malnutrition crisis is enormous. This year, 350 million people are projected to starve from hunger, more than double the number in 2020. Children suffer the most from famine and hunger. In 2020, 50 million children below the age of 5 suffer from hunger, stunting, and another 45 million from wasting or acute undernutrition. The war influence on the global food market might result up to 3 million more people being hungry, primarily in the Middle East and North Africa.
I will now explain on what Malaysia can do to enhance its own food security problems and what role it has as part of a multilateral and bilateral pact. In its own country, there are several initiatives that Malaysia can take close to cap on food security. For example, Malaysia can increase their food production by promoting sustainable agriculture practices. So this can be done by improving access to credits or known as loans and technology for small-scale farmers, as well as investing in infrastructure such as irrigation system and storage facilities, either it's for small-scale farmers or big-scale farmers to improve their food production. Another example is Malaysia can also diversify its food resources by promoting the production and consumption of underutilized crops. For example, cassava, sweet potato and millet, so which are often be seen more resilient to climate change and can provide alternative sources of income for farmers, which can be exported to other countries or as well as can be used within the countries. Lastly, Malaysia can support small-scale farmers by providing them with access to credits, as I mentioned earlier, trainings for farmers and technology also for farmers, as well as promoting the integration into formal markets through value chain development initiatives. This can be done by using Malaysia departments in agriculture sectors. By implementing these various initiatives, Malaysia can improve its own food security and ensure that all Malaysians have access to safe, nutritious and affordable foods. Continue with the second part, Malaysia can increase its effort on food security as part of their roles in multilateral and bilateral pact. On bilateral pact, we have MAFTA, Malaysia-Australia Free Trade Agreement, which is a bilateral trade agreement between Malaysia and Australia, which have loads of provisions, but most importantly, we are focusing on provisions that are related to agriculture and food security. The agreement promotes trade in agricultural products, including meat, dairy and grains, and includes They are also including provisions to ensure food safety as well as promoting sustainable agriculture practice between two countries. By collaborating with other countries, Malaysia can strengthen its effort to improve security and at the same time promote sustainable and equitable food system. For the second part, which is a multilateral PACS, we have Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC. Because Malaysia is a member of APEC, we have participated in various initiatives that are related to food security and sustainable agriculture, which included the APEC Food Security Roadmap towards 2020, which aims to promote food security and sustainable agriculture in the regions. Most importantly, the most famous one is the SDGs. This is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Because Malaysia is signatory to this SDGs, which aims to end hunger and achieve food security and implementation. We also have developed our own national SDG roadmap, which include our targets related to food security and sustainable agriculture. So, participating in multilateral PACS and initiatives, Malaysia can share knowledge, expertise, and resources with other countries, as well as gain their expertise and their resources, and contribute to global effort to promote food security and sustainable agriculture. This is our collective effort, our initiatives as part of our role in multilateral and bilateral PACS.
In the conclusion, food security have been a major challenge for many countries around the world. However, with the help of recent advanced technology in agriculture, have contributed to a massive progress. It requires continuous practice action at all levels, international and national, household and individual, on the basic social responsibility to ensure that everyone is adequately fed under all circumstances. The future of food security can be bright with the right policy, investment and innovation, as we have potential achievable without hunger.